Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The last few days has witnessed what this country has been witnessing periodically, the frenzied media reporting and speculating on crimes vociferously. Be it the Arushi murder case, the Tehelka controversy which has raged in the last few days, the Asaram Bapu case and many more lower profile ones, the breathless coverage leaves the viewers and readers more confused and better informed. The tendency to declare virtually someone or the other guilty even before the trial begins, or worse, a few hours or even less after the incident, has been witnessed more often. The partisan nature of the coverage also is something one has been witnessing increasingly. In all this, the refrain is that the media is only trying to do its duty of informing its readers and viewers. However, the intense speculation, most times based on unconfirmed and anonymous sources, adds little to the understanding of the case. Today we will see whether media has started to increasingly adopt a lynch mob mentality when it comes to covering crimes, and how it affects both investigations and the judicial outcome of such cases. To discuss this, I have with me a very experienced panel of guests: Marwah, former Delhi Police Commissioner; Justice B.A. Khan, former Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court; Dushyant, senior advocate in the Supreme Court; and Vinod, Sharma, political editor of the Hindustan Times, who in his earlier days in the profession has also covered many a crime in the capital. Welcome to all of you. Mr. Marwah, do you see some sort of a lynch mob mentality in the media today? And is it something you think which has developed in the recent past?
Well, by and large, I won't accuse the media of that lynch mob mentality. After all, in today's world, media competition and 24 hours, 24 into 7 television coverage has its own compulsions. But having said that, I agree with you that sometimes they cross that boundary which they should not. Accusing a person without any evidence, creating a public opinion not based on facts but based on their opinion.
On speculations.
Their own opinion. They have their own opinion. There was a time when the anchors in a panel discussion wanted to get the opinion of the experts. But today the panel discussions have undergone a change. Now they have an opinion and they want you to come to there and you become an accused yourself. But I suppose one has to live with it.
Justice Khan, how do you see this whole development in the last several years which has happened? How does it affect? Before I come to you, I would like Mr. Marwah to answer. How much does this kind of reporting and the media speculations which happen, how much does it affect the investigations, you think?
Well, it affects both ways. These days, unfortunately,
the investigators are using the media also.
Pardon?
The investigators use the media sometimes.
Yeah, they use the media, but both ways. You see, today the pressures on investigative agencies comes from various quarters, and the political rulers also have their own agenda to pursue, and they use the investigative agency to push their agenda. Situation is not so bad in Delhi, but in some states it's really bad. But it's the other way around also. On the one hand, the media plays a positive role in bringing the issue in the public domain and leaving no scope for the investigative agency to fudge investigation or to push it in one direction. And while on the other hand, it creates a public opinion where the investigative agency also willy-nilly tries to placate that public pressure. Public pressure builds its own constituency.
Absolutely. Justice Khan, the effect of such things on the judiciary. In fact, some days back, you were here on the same panel when we were discussing in a different case altogether the role of the judiciary in these kind of things. And this. First, do you think that there is a lynch mob mentality in the media, and do you think the judiciary is responding to media the way it should not be responding?
No, I wouldn't go to the extent of saying that judiciary is responding, but it does have an impact. After all, judges are human beings. We had the recent program which you mentioned, in which there was an admission that on watching the plight of the people on television, that action came to be taken. So it would be, you see, telling a lie, or it would be, denying a reality to say that no, the judges are such a stuff, that they are immune from all types of influences, including the media influence. That would not be a correct position to say. But there are people in the judiciary who manage to remain immune or from such kinds of influences. They may not watch the media on a particular case, or they may not go through the newspaper reports on that particular case, and they try to remain somewhat alienated from all the influences. There are people.
And you think that's the right thing to do?
I think that's the right thing, because if you get influence, see, what is judicial functioning all about? It is, you have to decide, you should not permit any extraneous influences, extraneous considerations to creep in.
Right.
In your judgment.
And go by the evidence.
Yes. And that is what the judicial functioning is all about. And if you get influenced by, as you say, by the media or by some other force, then your judgment becomes, it becomes diluted, it becomes adulterated. It may not result in justice then. So that's what's happening. But as far as media transgressions are concerned, these are becoming very overbearing, to tell you honestly. Now you see it going on wild. I mean, we have known about a little about the journalism and the media, and we used to respect a lot the objectivity. We used to consider the facts are sacred, as Mr. Marwah was just now saying, that in the panel discussions, the anchor becomes a participant and he wants you to go by his line. And all kinds of being judgmental, being biased, his bias, anchor's bias is apparent on the face of it, in the discussion itself. Now that is not a media training, and that I believe is not the media function also. Media has a right of expression, but that right of expression is within reasonable limits.
Mr. Dave, I mean, one is how this influences judiciary and things like that. But let us take these 2-3 specific cases which are happening right now, which is right now before all of us. One is the Arushi case. The sentencing has just now come. It is a life sentence. In the case of and the kind of reporting which went into this Arushi murder case, and also about the Tehelka controversy which is happening, the Asaram Bapu case recently. How do you view the role of the media in all this?
I personally feel that media has an extremely crucial role to play. Media has been playing that role quite responsibly, except in certain instances. But you have to understand that it's not just the right of media, under Article 19(1)(a).
Yeah.
But as you very rightly said, it's the right of the citizen, right of the viewer,
right,
to receive the information, which is equally sacrosanct.
Absolutely.
Now there are several stages. Today the criminal justice system, be it the investigation, be it the judicial system, is unfortunately many a times hijacked by the rich and the powerful. Now unless and until the media glare and the media pressure remains, in such cases it would be impossible to expect any fruitful outcome. So in all those cases, take for example crimes against humanity or society, if media was as vigilant as it was in 2002, in 1984, we would have seen different results.
Absolutely.
People have got away with murder in so far as 1984, Delhi riots are concerned. Whereas in 2002, because of the media pressure and the Supreme Court's involvement on account of that, some good results have come about. So I personally feel that media must be allowed to play a completely free role. But there is a distinction. Reporting of crime is one thing. Reporting of judicial proceedings is equally important,
right,
because judicial system is also not free from doubts many a times.
Right.
We have extremely responsible judges. We have some extremely irresponsible judges too. So media's pressure really works on those in certain cases. But most important is that media should not convert this reporting into soap operas. What is happening today, unfortunately, is instead of reporting every such case, take for example Arushi's case and even Telka's case, is becoming a soap opera.
Right.
Please don't do that, because it does not befit media, and it really unfortunately becomes extremely ugly. So to that extent, media must show responsibility. I personally feel that there must be in every organization, media organization, a committee of senior journalists and editors with an outsider, maybe a former judge, maybe other responsible people like Mr. Marwah and others, who should monitor this kind of reporting and should correct them as far as possible, because otherwise we are losing the focus somewhere.
Okay, I mean that's interesting. Vinod, that's an interesting suggestion which he has come out with. We need to, actually we don't need to have, as responsible media houses, everybody is supposed to, have a control over all these things. But do you think, one thing I want you to talk on is, do you think that this kind of an attitude which is developed, which Mr. Dave calls it a soap opera kind of thing which is happening now, is it following the growth of the electronic media? Do you think that the print media is still more responsible than what we see on the electronic media?
No, first of all, I must say that Mr. Dave has been more than charitable. Thank you so much, sir.
I think all of them have been more than charitable.
But my own assessment, my self-appraisal is not all that great. I must, in the context of cases which are of public interest, are engaging popular attention, have captured the mind of India or the mind of our readership constituencies. I think that, this competitive journalism creates a situation where investigating agencies fudge cases.
Yes.
And finally, there is a split opinion in the media, one saying the fudged case is right, the other saying, no, it's not.
This is what's happening in the Arushi case.
And I'm afraid I would like to. I cannot agree with the honourable judge that the judiciary is not influenced beyond a point. The Law Commission report, successive
No,
Law
he says
Commission
they are
reports-
influenced beyond.
No, he says that they should insulate themselves.
Yes.
I think it's it's really asking for them to become angels. They're after all human beings. They're living in the same society. Yes, of course, there was a time when honourable judges would not socialize, would not really be seen and spotted at parties. But there are exceptions to the rule now.
Even today there are exceptions.
Yeah, there are exceptions to the rule. And I think that this lure of the camera is enticing almost everyone, most notably the lawyers.
But
thankfully
not at sitting High Court and
who
Supreme
come
Court
out,
judges.
and I have not seen Mr. Dave giving sound bites after his case is heard by the court, but he comes on panels, that's fair. But they come out and they give you a running commentary on what has happened. And some of them
sometimes what is
even
happening
decide
is
to interpret what the court could have meant, merely basing it on Abitar Dikta, on a verbal observation. I think that the method in the madness is almost diminishing. It's just tapering off.
There is
no method in the madness.
What you are saying is that there has been madness in the media, but there was always some method.
The media's madness is only compounded by the madness in other allied professions, especially amongst the lawyers, amongst the and also amongst the investigating agency.
Right.
You see, the more the pressure you generate on an investigating agency, the greater the hurry with which the investigating officer wants to wrap up the case, and then
Or come out with something new
and
every day.
thereby more the beating for anybody who's been arrested, a more intense third degree subjecting them to a more intense third degree. I mean, tell me, how many people are now, how many cases do we report now in our days, and Mr. Marwah would bear me out, that if there was a death in judicial custody, it was page one story, but now even fake encounters, false encounters are being justified. So I really don't know that whether we are thinking logically, whether we are reporting logically, whether we are actually empowering the people on the issues that we are debating. I just don't know, because my freedom is there because it is believed that information is power, and honest dissemination of information can lead to an empowered public opinion, which is good for democracy. But whether we are doing it.
No, Vinod, the point which I tried to ask you was, do you think that this is all because of after the advent of the electronic media that this has developed?
No, we choose to be there. I remember there was this very celebrated Nirankari Baba murder case. And I remember that the print media was as mad in reporting about it, but there used to be a joint director in CBI called Mr. Renison. And there was a DIG called Mr. Rajendra Shekhar, who later became DG Rajasthan Police, and he was also CBI director. He became CBI director later. And frankly, I used to work for a wire service at that time, and they will interact only with the wire services. And they told other newspapers, look, whatever we have to say, we'll tell the two wire services, they'll convey it to you. They would take us into confidence. They would give us the information, but they will say at the same time, please don't publish this bit because it might help the people we are chasing. Now, there was a fair understanding because there was a healthy professional regard between the reporters and the investigator. That regard has vanished. That regard actually, recently there was this a very controversial, let me finish this, a very controversial comment by the CBI director. TV channels didn't report it, damn it. Because the man could put pressure to tell them that, look, I'll make myself inaccessible, and because there is so much of competition, everybody is vying for access. And therefore, he can be manipulated.
Mr. Marwah?
Well, I think we are exaggerating the role of the media as far as investigation is concerned. By and large,
No, let us take this Arushi case itself.
Yeah.
There is the defendant's side thinks that the entire media has been arraigned against the defendants, and there is also this opinion or version of the police and the CBI which feels that the media has been against it all the time.
Arushi's case is an exceptional case because this is a case which has been botched up.
Yes.
It has been botched up first by the Noida police, then by the press conference of the IG in Ghaziabad, then the CBI.
Yes.
CBI botched it up too.
Yes.
First one investigative team, then another investigative team.
Then
So
the
I
closure
think
report.
This is not a typical case. But in most cases, the police investigation goes on irrespective of what the media says. There are cases which are high profile.
Yes.
Whether the high profile people
We are talking of high profile cases because
cases,
that is where the lynch mob mentality comes in.
There again, there is more than one pressure which comes on the police. First of all, in a high profile case, the pressure comes from the ruling establishment. They have their own agenda so many cases wouldn't have gone the way they have gone unless there was media pressure. So the media pressure has a positive role also. I think we shouldn't ignore that.
No, we are not ignoring that. But the problem I'm trying to find out is that when this kind of, as Vinod was pointing out, there was this understanding. We have all done reporting in the past when there was no television. There was always this understanding between the media and the police, because the media also would understand that we will not transfer into territory which can affect the investigations of the case. Now there is no such because the proliferation of the media, simply the huge number of media houses which has come up, that don't you think that has created this problem?
No, it's a changed world. And as Vinod has said, the competitive media has changed everything. You are in a great hurry to beat the other channel. And so you have your own compulsion. Yes. There is no time to check facts.
My question is, sir, as the police, how do police react to these kind of situations? Now we see that any number of leaks which are happening, sometimes completely unconfirmed, before they could even have any evidence to that. Do you see that what is the compulsion of the police? Forget the compulsions of the media.
No, the police.
The investigators I'm talking about.
No, the police is ultimately accountable to the public.
Yes.
It isn't that the police is only accountable to the government and the law. The police is also accountable to the public opinion. And so when the public opinion goes one way or the other, the police, by their investigation Has
you're
to convince the people that they are doing a professional, good job.
So you think that the police are constantly, the pressure which is now on the police from the media, they also get influenced, and they somehow or the other they are playing to
No,
the
no,
gallery
I won't say that they get influenced.
or playing to the gallery.
No, they may be in one or two odd cases, but I think by and large the influence is positive. Actually,
Yes,
the police uses the media glare to checkmate the pressures which are coming from other
the
quarters.
political side, you mean.
Political or powerful people.
No, let me do a bit of more self-flagellation, sir. Now, may I point out
Quickly before I go to
may I
Mr.
point
Justice
out
Khan.
that there have been reams and reams and reams written on certain cases which were believed to have been cracked by the police. And then somebody like Bhatkal gets arrested, and there are reams and reams and reams being written that this fellow was caught, he was an innocent man, he shouldn't have been caught, some other fellow was involved, this person was involved, that person was involved. What's happening is what you have is a Molotov cocktail of information coming from various incarnations of police organizations. Some are from investigating authorities, some are from intelligence organizations that are responsible for internal security, and some are from organizations which are responsible for security at our ports, beyond the Indian shores. All kinds of organizations are there, and everybody is contributing to this Molotov cocktail, which is actually injurious to popular opinion and popular health. You see, that's the problem.
Yes,
and
yes.
May I say, sir, say for instance the Malegaon case. You see, there were journalists who were taken for a ride, and long years ago, one of your colleagues, Dr. K.K. Paul, gave me a book called Spike, which was about a journalist who all his life felt that he was a great celebrated journalist, honored time and again. But at the end of his career, at the twilight of his career, realizes he was nothing but a vehicle for disinformation of various organizations.
No,
this is happening at a very rampant scale.
Yes,
today.
Mr. Marwah.
No, he has referred to the lack of professionalism amongst the intelligence and the police agency. No, there are many factors responsible. Blaming the media pressure for this, I don't think should.
So it's a problem. It's an internal problem. It's not an external
It's more
problem.
than an internal problem. It's more than an internal problem. Today, I mean, when we all talk of police reforms, what do you mean by reforms? We all talk of reforms of the criminal justice system. What do we say? We want these organizations to have functional autonomy, where they can do a professional job and come to a conclusion.
Yeah, that is all fine, sir.
That is not happening.
That's not happening. We accept that. Mr. Dave, before I go to Justice Khan, Mr. Dave, Vinod thinks that you have been very more kind than what you need to be. But maybe the lawyers, the people outside the media can have a better view of that. We admit, I admit, as a journalist, maybe my understanding of what is happening and what Vinod understands may be completely different from how you understand the media from outside. But you think that somewhere the media has transgressed the limits?
No, there are two things. First, before I go to answer your question, I must tell Mr. Sharma that I have never ever commented in respect of a matter in which I appear, before or after.
I said that.
First principle I have.
No, I said that.
Certainly not during. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I heard that. Secondly, I must also tell Mr. Marwah one thing, that the leaks during investigation by the police, deliberate leaks to the press, is the worst thing that can happen to the investigation.
Absolutely.
It is unheard of in any Western European countries or United States. They would never ever talk except to say that yes, we are investigating and that's the end of the matter. Here all kinds of information is being relayed to the media, and the media reports to them. So that's something which is unheard of, and I think that should stop, because it does affect the crime detection, to my mind, as an outsider and as a lawyer. But having said that, I must say that look, there are exceptional cases where perhaps a judge might be affected. But by and large, this instrument has certainly worked. Some pressure on the judicial system also to be responsible and not allow the guilty to get away scot-free which is what used to happen in the past, because these are extremely rich and extremely powerful people who sometimes are brought before law.
But
And
Mr.
they can get away
No,
with
but Mr.
murders, as you have seen.
Mr.
Now,
Dave,
that is something where, yes.
Mr. Dave, sorry.
Sorry.
In the present case of Arushi, now yesterday they were found guilty, today they have been sentenced. The whole media is now talking about, or reporting or commenting or opinionating about how the
I have already, Girish ji,
Yes.
yes, Girish ji, I have already said that media should stop converting this into a soap opera.
Right.
That's their responsibility, and they must, come back to that responsibility. What you are saying is very right. It has become a circus now.
it's become a circus.
And these TRP ratings, the print media is certainly more responsible than electronic media, one. But even amongst the print media, if you go into the regional media,
Yes.
I mean, there is no responsibility at all, and there is nobody to check them. So that only a self-restraint with some kind of a monitoring by senior journalists and editors of every organization will bring some sanity. I don't think we can do anything about it.
Absolutely. Justice Khan, the one of the basic principles of judiciary that somebody is held innocent until proved guilty. You think that this basic principle has been given a go by?
No, but they are holding him guilty on the very first show. That's what's happening.
In the Tehelka case,
No,
or
no,
in Arushi case, or
see,
in
the
anything.
whole problem is more with the electronic media, and it has started with the electronic media, where it has become free for all, indulging in sensationalism, losing objectivity, not caring for facts, not checking up on events, and just Mr. Dave was saying, creating this kind of a
Soap opera.
Soap opera is, see, what is happening is that this kind of a media hype does influence cases, may I tell you. It does influence investigation.
And it does influence the judiciary also.
Yes, if you work on the, for example, by all judicial norms, a person might be entitled to a relief. But if the case is hyped by the media,
Yes.
the judge will think 3 times, 5 times in giving that relief to him.
And there is no instrument through which the judiciary can control this.
No,
To some extent, the Supreme Court in the Arushi case said that don't report sensationally. Now, who will decide what is sensational and what is not sensational?
No. See, in judicial working, you can't control a judge's mind. See, if it is influence and if he wants to be away from giving a relief because of the media hype, same happens in the investigation. Mr. Marwah must admit that. For example, if media hype in a particular case leads to a particular direction in an investigation, their ill-equipped investigators take that line.
Absolutely.
And what is the result? The result is that you kill the fair investigation. And see, for example, see this case. They are saying you misled the investigation.
Yes.
What is this misled the investigation?
Anyway, I think we have completely run out of time. The matter is very serious. Whether the media is adopting a lynch mob mentality or not, the jury is still out in the open. All the non-journalists in the panel have been more kind to the media than what we in the media think it is doing. But the fact is that there has been, like all my panelists agree, that media is transgressing its limits. We hope that there will be some method, as Vinod was pointing out, to this madness at some point of time. Thanks to all my guests, Mr. Dushyant Dave, Mr. Marwah, Justice Khan, and Vinod Sharma. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture, same time tomorrow.